Welcome to Straight Talk. I'm Jessie Bawak. Today on the program, my guest is Dr. Fomunyoh, who is the Senior Associate, the Regional Director for Central and West Africa at the National Democratic Institute, the NDI. The NDI is a non-profit, non-partisan organization that supports and promotes democratic institutions worldwide.
Fomunyoh, born August 14, 1956 in Cameroon, is the Senior Associate for Africa and Regional Director at the National Democratic Institute for International Affairs. The first son of coffee farmers in his native village of Guzang-Batibo subdivision in the Northwest region, Fomunyoh attended Christian primary education institutions in Guzang, Ambo, and Ikabifang, then went on to the Cameroon Protestant College Bali for secondary school studies, graduating in 1973. He later attended the Cameroon College of Arts, Science and Technology Bambili and obtained the General Certificate of Education Advanced Levels in 1975 before proceeding to University of Yaoundé II to the Faculty of Law and Economics. Dr. Fomunyoh has a bachelor's degree in law obtained in 1979 and a master's degree in international law from the Harvard Law School in 1989. He obtained his PhD in political science from Boston University in 1993 and also holds a professional certificate in air law from Université d'Aix-en-Provence in France. Fomunyoh is an adjunct faculty at the African Center for Strategic Studies and a former adjunct professor of African politics and government at Georgetown University. He is perfectly articulate in both English and French. Upon graduation from University of Yaoundé, he worked for the Water Corporation, La Société Nationale des Eaux du Cameroun, SNEC, and later for Cameroon Airlines in both the coastal city of Douala, where he established and managed the legal department for more than 6 years before departing Cameroon to pursue further studies at the Harvard University. Shortly after graduation from Harvard, Fomunyoh served on internships with the law offices of the Bank of Boston, USA, and the Standard Chartered Bank in Douala, Cameroon. In 1993, he joined the National Democratic Institute as Senior Program Officer. Today, as Senior Associate and Regional Director at the NDI, Fomunyoh has organized and advised international election observation missions, designed and supervised country-specific democracy support programs in partnership with civic organizations, political parties, and legislative bodies across Africa. Political parties, and legislative bodies across Africa. In the course of his work, Fomunyoh interacts regularly with heads of state and government, cabinet ministers, elected officials, political and civic leaders. In his personal life, Fomunyoh is married to Mary Ann, with whom he has 3 kids. Fomunyoh is married to Mary Ann, with whom he has 3 kids, Franklin, Brian, and Christina. He spends most of his time traveling around Africa and other parts of the world, supporting civic and political leaders and activists engaged in democratization processes.
Dr. Fomunyoh, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure to be back.
You're just coming in from Niger, which had a political situation there sometime around the 18th of February 2010, the military coup that unseated President Mamadou Diagne. How is the atmosphere over there at the moment?
Well, incidentally, the coup in Niger took place when I was in Cameroon. You may remember in February, and we chatted a little bit about what the country of Niger had gone through under President Mamadou Tanja, and the fact that Niger really had a chance to reinforce or strengthen its democratic institutions. But unfortunately, Tanja, who had been in power for 10 years, was beginning to dismantle those institutions. He dissolved the Constitutional Court, he dissolved the National Assembly, he dissolved the Election Commission, and was trying to perpetuate himself in power. And unfortunately, the military stepped in. But in the visit that I had in Niger about a week ago, I spent 1 week in Niger, in Niamey. I met with political leaders, I met with civil society organizations, and I met with the transition government to get a sense of how serious the military was about making sure that the transition was respected, the timetable was respected, and that Niger can have new elections and a democratically elected government by March of 2011. And I came away from that, from those conversations with the sense that the military in Niger is very determined to go back to the barracks and to make sure the country can regain its democratic path. And for some reason, for those reasons, I want to be hopeful for Niger's future, although I regret that the country had to go through that process to get to where it is today.
Can we say that, it was a good thing for Niger to have a coup, given that those who are politically involved now have a focus?
Well, I think as a Democrat, as someone who is committed to democracy and who believes in democracy and who believes that democracy is a system of government that allows citizens to choose their leaders through peaceful and credible elections, you can never condone the seizure of political power through the use of arms. But the case of Niger was pretty dramatic because I think the country had run out of options to the point where when the military stepped in, people in Niger came out in the streets to praise the military for doing what they'd done. And by and large, people still have the same impression in Niger that the military did the right thing for themselves and for the country. Now, the test is going to be in the pudding, as they say, in the sense that if the Niger's military sticks to the transition timetable and conducts free and fair and credible elections in which they themselves are not interested parties, then we can have the opportunity to say that Niger's democracy had it hit a bump in the road in terms of Tanja. It had some corrective measures